Xenophobia has reared its ugly head again in South Africa, and there have been reports in the news about how, especially Nigerians, have been subjected to attacks on their person and also on their businesses, and that threat is still alive, and most of them are fearing for both their life and their properties. I just typed in xenophobia into Google, and then I just went to the news, and what I see, the first one is xenophobia. Nigerians in South Africa raise fresh fears over attacks from the Premium Times. That's 5 hours ago. So the Nigerian community in South Africa said on Monday that some of its members were receiving calls threatening more attacks against their homes and businesses. Then the second one, xenophobia in South Africa. No country has monopoly over violence, representative warns. So that's like a retaliatory call for retaliation, that whatever might be happening, the attacks that may be happening to Nigerians in South Africa could be reciprocated elsewhere, okay, by Nigerians, maybe in Nigeria, on South Africans, which really would just escalate everything. Nigeria demands AU action over renewed South Africa xenophobia. The Nigerian government has called on the African Union and the South African government to take decisive and definitive measures to protect Nigerian citizens and other Africans within South African borders. The senior special assistant on foreign blah blah blah. So there's a call for the African Union to take action, which I hope they will do. We've seen how the African Union has not really been forthcoming. For example, when there were disturbances in Zimbabwe, there was not much that the African Union did. So hopefully they will this time do something about the xenophobia which fellow Africans are experiencing in South Africa. Nigeria xenophobia. South Africans attack Nigerian businesses, says Union. Gauteng cops maintain Tshwane. Public violence not linked to xenophobia. Well, if you listen to the interviews of some of the South Africans speaking on television, then you can be quite certain that the public violence is linked to xenophobia, and for the cops to say or to maintain that the public violence is not linked to xenophobia is not going to help to solve this problem. So Gauteng police say the violent acts and damage to property carried out by community members in Pretoria West are not xenophobic attacks. Xenophobia. FG asks AU South African government to protect Nigerians. Xenophobic attacks strike Pretoria West. Xenophobia. Nigeria urges AU to intervene over South Africa killings. ADF condemns xenophobic attacks in South Africa. And what's the ADF? I'm not sure what the ADF is, but it's condemning the xenophobic attacks in Pretoria. Xenophobia. South Africans attack Nigerians, burn houses, church, cars, and their photographs. To that effect, 6 arrested over Pretoria West chaos. Xenophobic looters, like drug dealers, are a menace to society. I think if the drug dealers and all that the South Africans are complaining about are a menace to the society, then the police should be forthcoming. I mean, you've got the police, you've got probably a drugs section, which should really be taking care of this kind of criminal behavior. for residents to take matters into their own hands just exacerbates or makes the chaos even worse. So the injustice of immigration, xenophobia, the fear and hatred of strangers or foreigners, now to many, especially those in the mainstream media, as well as those on the political side. What took place in Pretoria West these past few days will scream xenophobia. I know they will talk about the injustice of immigration, but at the same time, they also forget to mention that immigration may not be the best for everyone, but countries are also benefiting from immigration, and controlled immigration has always helped certain economies. We've seen what's happening in America now with President Donald Trump blaming immigration for the loss of jobs of the natives or the Americans. But we know, and in South Africa as well, that some of the jobs which foreigners are taking are sort of qualified jobs where the people who are coming in, the workers who are coming in, are more qualified than the locals. And it's up to the government to set up policies which protect local workers, and also to have a visa system which only allows into the country people or workers who are bringing something which is lacking in the country. Okay, they might be economic refugees from their countries, but if they do qualify and if there's a skills shortage and the government needs to use those people, then they have a right to ensure that the people coming in are properly vetted and also protected once they are in. The last one there is fresh attack on Nigerians living in South Africa. 5 buildings with Nigerian shops looted and burned, which is a shame. So the attack in Pretoria West is purely xenophobic and criminal attack because they loot the shops and homes before burning them. So there's looting, and then there's they loot, steal, and then they burn. And if the owners happen to be there, some of them are likely to lose their lives. It's really a shame that Africa is going through this kind of phenomenon. Xenophobia is just a hatred amongst Africans, and I think that's something that if there was more cooperation between African countries, then what we would get in the end is better understanding between the different peoples of the different countries. But I don't think we're doing enough. We're not engaging enough as Africans, and the African Union is not doing enough to encourage integration. Our economic systems are not interacting. We're not really doing enough business with each other, and we are not welcoming our fellow Africans into our countries. We do more business with the outside world than amongst ourselves as Africans. And if you have the AU not really coming up with programs that encourage stability on the continent, then you're going to get this kind of inequality of income and inequality of wealth. If you look at Nigeria and South Africa, they are the number 1 and 2 biggest economies in Africa. So I don't really get why there are so many Nigerians in South Africa. Unlike Zimbabweans, who obviously in Zimbabwe the economic conditions are dire, and so they're going into South Africa to look for work because the jobs in Zimbabwe are non-existent, and if you do have a job, if you're lucky enough to have a job, there is not enough money, or the money you get paid is not enough to sustain yourself and your family. Okay, so I just wanted to make a few comments on xenophobia. We've seen how ugly the scenes were just a couple of years ago when a lot of Africans were murdered in public, and videos were taken and passed around social media. And then that seemed to have come to a stop, but it was after Chief, I can't remember his name now. I think Chief Zolitini, when he blamed the challenges of South Africa is facing on immigrants who would come into the country, and that sort of led to the killings of a lot of Africans who were not South Africans. Okay, so let's see how the African Union and the president Jacob Zuma is going to deal with this issue. I think he needs to be in the public, really trying to deal with this issue. So thank you for listening. I hope that this situation will resolve and Africans can live side by side and learn to share resources and avoid killing each other, basically. Thank you for watching.